What exactly is Ragnarok? To answer this question, let's turn to the oldest original documentation we have on the topic. Ragnarok is essentially a story about the end of the world, a kind of apocalypse in Norse mythology. It represents the end of the established order for the Norse people, an ancient Scandinavian population now known as Norway and Iceland. These people worshipped gods like Odin, Thor, Frigg, Freya, and others. The Norse had an expectation of an end, a theme that appears in their myths. To explore this concept, let's look at one of the key sources of this mythology, a poem called Vo Lu Spa, which is part of the Poetic Edda. The Eddas, Poetic Edda and Prose Edda, are the main texts that give us access to these myths. They were written in the 11th century CE, during a time when the region had already been heavily Christianized. The Norse religion was almost non-existent publicly by then. Despite being written quite late, these are the oldest texts containing the most complete narratives about the gods, offering a glimpse into Norse mythology. Now, let's delve into what the text says. Hear my words, all classes of men, you, great and small, sons of Heimdall. Here, the speaker is the Voholva, an ancient spirit often called a sorceress, witch, or seer. Essentially, she is a very old spirit summoned by Odin, the god known as the Allfather, so he can interview her and learn things he does not know. The gods in Norse mythology are not omnipotent, omniscient, or omnipresent. They have their limitations. Odin, in particular, is very interested in knowledge. He seeks out various beings to contribute to his understanding, asking them to reveal things he hasn't yet discovered. This is one such case, where he calls upon the Voholva to speak about the beginning and the end of times. Heimdall, who is mentioned, is the god attributed with the creation of humanity and the guardian of Asgard, the realm of the gods. He also guards the Bifrost, the bridge often depicted as a rainbow, the Milky Way, or even the Northern Lights. Moving on, you summoned me, Odin, to tell what I remember of the oldest deeds of gods and men. She begins to speak of various things, the creation of the world, the beginning of all things. Odin was not present at the very start. He belongs to about the third generation of beings known from the oldest poems. Folva continues to speak about the world's beginnings, and eventually she arrives at the end of the world, which is what concerns us here, as we're discussing Ragnarok. She says, I have much wisdom. I see deeply into the future, up to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. The word Ragnarok means the fate of the gods, sometimes translated as twilight of the gods. It refers to the end of the gods, and indeed, most of them meet their end in this event, as we will see. Brothers will fight each other and kill each other. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a harsh place to live in. It will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms, an age of wolves. Shields will be shattered. Before the world sinks into the sea, there will be no man who is loyal to another. The giants are stirring, and the fate of the gods is awakened by the shrill sound of the Gjallar horn. The Gjallar horn is the trumpet of Heimdall, the vigilant god who will blow it to signal the invasion of the giants, the Jotnar. These beings are adversaries of the Aesir, the divine lineage that includes gods like Odin and Thor. A final battle ensues, involving not just warfare between different beings, but also a collapse of moral order. In the poem, we see people breaking oaths, a critical value in Norse culture. We also witness natural disasters and a cosmic breakdown, signaling the end of the gods. The sun turns black, the earth sinks into the sea, the bright stars fall from the sky. Flames scorch the leaves of Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil is the tree at the center of the cosmos, the axis of the world, and a great fire reaches the highest clouds. What we really see here is a scene of total desolation, The entire existing order, divine, human, and natural, is subverted, leaving practically nothing behind. Even the gods perish. As we see, Odin himself is swallowed by a giant wolf, the offspring of Loki, Fenrir. Thor manages to slay a giant serpent, Jormungand, the Midgard serpent, but succumbs to the serpent's venom. In other versions, not just in Voluspa, we hear that Freyr, another important god of the Vanir, fights a fire giant whose sword sets all of nature ablaze. So, it is a scenario of complete desolation, but it is not entirely hopeless. After this utter destruction, a glimmer of hope remains, like new sprouts beginning to grow beneath the ashes. The Volva, the one delivering these prophecies, then says, "I see the earth rise a second time from the depths of the sea, green once again. Waterfalls flow and eagles fly above, hunting fish among the mountain peaks. Fields will yield fruit without labor. All disease will vanish, and Balder will return. Hoth and Balder will live in Odin's hall, along with other gods." Hoth and Balder are two gods, sons of Odin. Balder was beloved by all but ended up dying at the hands of Hoth, though unintentionally. Both are victims in the story orchestrated by Loki, and they both perish. Hoth kills Balder, which leads to a vengeful figure who then kills Hoth. Despite their deaths, they reappear after Ragnarok, seemingly reconciled in the setting of post-Ragnarok restoration. However, this is not the true end. Voluspa, the poem, depicts Ragnarok and then hints at a restoration that follows. A new hope, including a human pair that will restart the human race. Yet, the final stanza is quite enigmatic. It reads, "Then, the dark dragon will come flying from the dark mountains, that glistening serpent. Nidhogg will carry corpses on his wings as he flies over that valley. Now I must withdraw." This ending has sparked much debate among scholars. Does the vision of Nidhogg, the dragon, refer to something happening after the post-Ragnarok restoration? Or is it the Volva, stepping out of her vision and observing the present moment, where evil still exists, where bad things are still present before this ultimate restoration of eternal abundance? It remains unclear whether it suggests a cycle that will begin anew, renewal, corruption, annihilation, or if, after Ragnarok, an eternal paradise will follow. Either way, that is Ragnarok, according to the most ancient and complete Norse texts we have, the Poetic Edda. I hope this answers the question.